It's Friday, February 23rd, 2024. Let's talk about the news. From Reuters, Eastern Congo residents scramble for food and safety as conflict intensifies. Food supplies have been disrupted in Goma, located in the eastern portion of the Democratic Republic of Congo, as the country's army attempts to fend off a group of rebels called M23, which are allegedly backed by neighboring Rwanda. Clashes between these groups have been ongoing for a while now, but they escalated significantly at the beginning of the year, and thousands of civilians have been forced to flee their homes as rebels have taken more territory, stressing infrastructure in Goma and worsening an already bad humanitarian crisis in the area. International actors like the US have urged Rwanda to withdraw their personnel from the area and to stop supporting M23, but without success so far. And this heightening conflict increases the strain on national resources and systems that are attempting to help the more than 800,000 internally displaced people living in the country, and the more than 2.5 million who were previously displaced and who are attempting to rebuild their lives in this eastern region in particular. From Utility Dive, domestic uranium enrichment gets $2.7 billion boost from U.S. Senate. The U.S. Senate has approved a bill that would provide $2.7 billion for the domestic enrichment of uranium, which would allow, among other things, for the expanded domestic production of the types of uranium used for existing and future nuclear power plant designs. This investment would allow the U.S. to produce more of its own uranium fuel rather than buying it from Russian-controlled businesses, as is the case today. But support for building more nuclear power infrastructure in the country is mixed, and the effectiveness of next-step designs for power plants are still in question. Also in question is whether the bill can be passed by the House, as many House Republicans are irked by what they perceive to be a lack of southern border security funding, and have thus voted against pretty much everything that has arrived on their docket. And from the Wall Street Journal, an executive bought a rival's stock, and the SEC says that's insider trading. A biotech executive earned about $120,000 buying options on a rival company's stock, and the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission is accusing him of committing insider trading, even though he didn't have inside information about the company whose stock he purchased. He did, however, have information about his employer's stock, and he assumed, rightly, as it turned out, that this information would allow him to make money on that competitor's stock because of how the market would shift after the knowledge he had was announced to the rest of the world. This is an example of what's called shadow insider trading, because it involves using inside information, but to trade in other companies' stocks, not one's own, which is a trickier thing to prove, but something the SEC is trying to crack down on because it is arguably the same thing, taking advantage of insider information to profit. It's just achieved in a somewhat more circuitous fashion. It's not clear that this case will be decided in the SEC's favor, but if it is, there's a good chance we will see more such cases in the near future. If you're finding some value in one-sentence news, consider leaving a quick review wherever you get your podcasts and/or sharing the show with a friend. You can find out more about this show or subscribe to the email version at onesentencenews.com. And you can support this and other related projects, like the Let's Know Things and Brain Lenses podcasts, at understandery.com.